Welcome to HFY Galaxy Tales. Like this video and subscribe the channel for more HFY stories. The conference chamber aboard the Imperial Dreadnought Valeria stretched 300 meters in every direction, and right now, every single centimeter of it felt too small. I am Krell Vanthos, Supreme Military Advisor to the Galactic Council, and I have witnessed 43 stellar campaigns across 600 worlds. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have watched civilizations burn themselves to atoms over matters of pride. But nothing, and I mean absolutely nothing, prepared me for the day we discovered humanity. The holographic display flickered to life, showing a small blue and green planet rotating lazily in the darkness. Earth, they called it. Unremarkable. Backwater. A cosmic joke of a world orbiting an average yellow star in the unfashionable end of the galaxy. The kind of place you would pass by without a second glance. This cannot be correct, Admiral Thex muttered, his four eyes blinking in sequence, a sure sign of disbelief among his species. Run the calculations again. Commander Lissa, my second in command, gestured with her primary appendages. Sir, we have run them 17 times. The data is consistent. I leaned forward, my scales rippling with what humans would probably call anxiety. Though honestly, calling it anxiety would be like calling a supernova a little bit warm. Show me the footage from the Corthian front. The display shifted. What we saw should have been impossible. The Corthian Empire had ruled the Andromeda Spiral for 3,000 years. Their battle fleets could crack planets. Their soldiers were genetically engineered killing machines, each one worth 10 normal soldiers. They had quantum shields that bent reality itself. They were, in every measurable way, unstoppable. And yet, there they were, retreating. No, scratch that. They were running. Like scared younglings fleeing from a predator. Zoom in on Sector 7, I commanded. The image clarified, and I felt my blood chill. Human soldiers, if you could even call them that, were advancing through a debris field that should have been lethal. Radiation levels high enough to liquefy organic tissue. Temperatures that would boil water in seconds. Kinetic bombardment that could pulverize stone. And these lunatics were laughing. Are they insane? Admiral Thex asked. It was not really a question. Probably, I replied. Lissa, pull up the encounter logs from the Vrixian campaign. The Vrixians were another problem entirely. Where the Corthians relied on overwhelming force, the Vrixians were masters of psychological warfare. They could break an enemy's mind before the first shot was fired. Their psionic abilities were legendary. Armies would surrender just hearing they were coming. The logs appeared on screen, and I read them aloud, partly because I still did not believe what I was seeing. Vrixian Commander Zelfix reports that human forces are, quote, completely immune to mental attacks. Human soldiers appear to find psionic assault attempts amusing. One human soldier, name listed as Marcus Webb, reportedly told the Vrixian infiltrator to, and I quote, try harder next time, buddy. That is not possible, Thex said flatly. And yet, Lissa pointed at the screen, where Marcus Webb was indeed giving a cheerful wave to a very confused-looking Vrixian warrior before shooting him with what appeared to be a weapon held together with, was that adhesive tape. There it is. I rubbed my temples, a gesture I had picked up from watching too many human broadcasts. Pull up the Zephron encounter. Now, the Zephrons were special. They did not just fight wars. They ended them. Their planet-killer weapons could sterilize entire solar systems. They had done it before. 12 times, to be exact. When the Zephrons showed up, you either surrendered immediately or you died. Those were the only options. Except, apparently, if you were human. The footage began. A Zephron armada, 200 ships strong, descended on a human colony world. A minor outpost called Haven Point. Population roughly 50,000. Minimal defenses. It should have been a massacre. 30 seconds until planetary bombardment, the Zephron commander had announced in the recording. Standard procedure. They always gave 30 seconds. It was the only mercy they offered. The human response came through on all channels. A single voice, female, calm as morning rain. This is Governor Patricia Mills of Haven Point. You have 10 seconds to turn around. The Zephron commander had laughed. Actually laughed. Or what, primitive? Or we will make you regret it. What followed was, in technical terms, absolutely ridiculous. In practical terms, it was the most terrifying thing I had ever witnessed. The humans had somehow, and our scientists still cannot figure out how, turned their entire planet into a giant electromagnetic pulse weapon. 200 Zephron ships, all of them dead in the water. Floating. Helpless. Then the humans boarded them. Every single one. They took the ships. Admiral Thex was now standing, all four of his eyes wide. They captured a Zephron armada. With minimal casualties, I confirmed. 17 human soldiers injured. 3 seriously. 0 deaths. And the Zephrons? I pulled up the casualty reports. They lost 4,000 troops. The humans did not kill them, though. They just, according to the reports, made them very uncomfortable and then locked them in their own brigs. Lissa was reading the transcript of the boarding action. Sir, one of the human soldiers apparently told a Zephron captain that his ship had terrible interior design and that the color scheme was, quote, an assault on good taste. They insulted the ship decor while capturing it. Thex sat back down, looking dazed. Yes, Admiral. I pulled up another file, this one marked with the highest security clearance. Now, here is where it gets truly bizarre. The Korthians, Vrixians, and Zephrons have been at war with each other for centuries. They hate each other. They would normally rather die than cooperate. Normally, Lissa said quietly. 3 days ago, they formed an alliance. All 3 empires. Together. For the first time in recorded history. Against humanity, Thex finished. Against humanity. The room fell silent. Outside the viewport, stars drifted past, indifferent to the cosmic absurdity unfolding among their children. I brought up the final piece of intelligence, the one that had prompted this emergency meeting. The combined fleet is assembling at the Kronos expanse. 7,000 warships. 3 of the most powerful military forces in the galaxy, united with a single purpose. To destroy humanity before they become an even bigger problem. And the humans? Thex asked. What is their response? I played the intercepted transmission. A human face appeared on screen. Male, middle-aged, with graying hair and an expression that somehow managed to convey both complete seriousness and utter amusement. His name tag read Colonel David Reeves. We are aware of your alliance, Reeves said, addressing the 3 empires directly. We are aware of your fleet. We are aware that you intend to wipe us out. He paused, and I swear, I could see a smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. We would like to remind you that this is a terrible idea. We have tried to coexist peacefully. We have tried to trade. We have tried to negotiate. You responded with invasion. You responded with attacks on civilian populations. You responded with threats of extinction. Another pause. Longer this time. So now, we respond our way. The transmission ended. That is it? Lissa asked. That is their entire response. That is all they sent, I confirmed. Admiral Thex was pacing now, his claws clicking against the metal floor. This is madness. They are outnumbered 7,000 to, what? How many ships do the humans have? I checked the latest intelligence estimates. We believe approximately 400 combat-capable vessels. 400 against 7,000. Thex threw his arms up. They cannot possibly win. The mathematics alone. Sir, Lyssa interrupted softly. The Corthians said the same thing. So did the Vryxians. So did the Zephrons. That shut him up. I pulled up a tactical map of the Chronos expanse. The combined fleet will arrive at the human home system in 72 hours. Our projections suggest the battle will last approximately 6 hours before complete human defeat. And our role? Vex asked. We observe. We document. We stay the hell out of the way. Agreed, he said immediately. I spent the next 2 days reviewing everything we knew about humanity. Their history, their culture, their disturbing tendency to do things that should kill them and then laugh about it afterward. They had sports, actual organized sports, that involved hitting each other repeatedly. They willingly jumped out of perfectly functional aircraft for fun. They had a food item called hot wings that was apparently coated in chemical compounds that caused pain, and they ate it competitively. These were not normal beings. My personal favorite discovery was something called parkour, where humans would run through urban environments jumping off buildings and over obstacles. Not because they needed to. Not because they were being chased. Just because they could. They do it for entertainment, Lyssa had explained when I asked. They intentionally put themselves in danger for entertainment. Apparently. They also have something called extreme sports. Would you like to see those? Absolutely not. But of course, I watched them anyway. Humans throwing themselves down mountains on tiny boards. Humans diving into water from insane heights. Humans racing vehicles at speeds that would kill them if they made a single mistake. And they smiled while doing it. Lyssa, I said after watching a particularly disturbing video of a human named Felix Ortega jumping from the edge of space. I think we may have made a terrible mistake. Sir. We have been thinking about this all wrong. Every species we have encountered follows certain rules. Preserve your life. Minimize risk. Act rationally. Humans do not follow these rules. No sir, they do not. Which means our projections, our tactical analyses, everything we think we know about warfare, may be completely useless when applied to them. The day of the battle arrived. The combined fleet emerged from hyperspace exactly on schedule, a wall of metal and firepower that stretched across the solar system. 7,000 ships, all of them ready to reduce Earth to cosmic dust. The human fleet was waiting. 400 ships. Exactly as intelligence had predicted. They hung in space between the invading armada and their home world, tiny, outmatched, doomed. Open a channel, I ordered. I want to see this. The Corthian High Commander appeared first, his face twisted in what passed for a smile among his kind. Humans. You are surrounded. You are outnumbered. You cannot win. Surrender now, and we will make your extinction quick. The human response came from a woman this time. Captain Jennifer Hayes, according to the identification beacon. She looked tired, like she had been up for 3 days straight. Probably had been. Commander, she said pleasantly, I appreciate the offer, but we are going to have to decline. You would choose death over surrender. Oh, we are not choosing death. Hayes leaned forward, and her smile was absolutely terrifying. You are. And that, as they say, is when everything went completely insane. The Corthian commander did what any rational being would do when faced with such obvious delusion. He laughed. Then he gave the order to fire. 7,000 ships opened up simultaneously. The amount of energy released in that first volley could have vaporized a small moon. Plasma bolts, kinetic rounds, antimatter torpedoes, and weapons we did not even have names for streaked across the void toward the human fleet. And the humans did something that made my brain hurt. They scattered. Not in the orderly, tactical dispersal pattern that every military academy in the galaxy taught. No, they broke formation like a flock of birds startled by a predator, each ship going in seemingly random directions. Ships that should have been vaporized by overlapping fields of fire somehow slipped through gaps that should not have existed. It was like watching someone dance through a rainstorm without getting wet. "That is impossible," Admiral Thex whispered. "The reaction time alone, the precision required." "They are not following tactical doctrine," Lissa said, her voice filled with something between awe and horror. "They are improvising. All of them. Independently. The human ships reformed, but not in any pattern our computers recognized. They moved like a living thing, flowing and shifting, never quite where you expected them to be. And then they started firing back. Human weapons were, on paper, inferior to what the three empires fielded. Lower yield. Shorter range. Nothing that should have troubled ships with quantum shielding and adaptive armor. But the humans were not aiming at the ships. They are targeting the command and control nodes, I realized. They are cutting off communication between fleet elements. Captain Hayes' voice came over the open channel, still disturbingly calm. "You brought 7,000 ships. That is impressive. Really. Gold star for effort. But you made 3 critical mistakes. A human missile slipped past a Vrixian destroyer's shields and detonated against its sensor array. The ship went dark, blind, and deaf. Mistake number 1. You assumed numbers matter more than skill. A squadron of human fighters, tiny things that looked like they were built in someone's garage, swarmed a Zephron cruiser. They were not trying to destroy it. They were hurting it, pushing it with precisely placed shots into the path of friendly fire from a Korthian dreadnought. The Zephron ship took the hit from its own ally and crumpled like paper. Mistake number 2. You assumed your alliance would hold under pressure. And that was when I saw it. The humans were not just fighting. They were conducting an orchestra of violence. Every move, every shot, every maneuver was designed not just to damage the enemy but to turn them against each other. A human corvette would damage a Korthian ship's identification transponder, making it broadcast Vrixian codes. The Korthians would fire on what they thought was an enemy. Ships exploded from friendly fire while the humans danced between them, untouched. Mistake number 3, Hayes continued, and now there was steel in her voice. You assumed we fight like you do. We do not. Sir, Lissa called out. I am detecting energy signatures from the human home world. I pulled up the readings and felt my heart skip. Those are planetary defense platforms. Hundreds of them. When did they build hundreds of platforms? According to this, they did not build them, Lissa said slowly. They converted their communications satellites. Their weather monitoring stations. Their commercial infrastructure. They turned everything into weapons. Of course they did. Because humans looked at a peaceful satellite network and thought, yes, but what if we could shoot people with it? The battle was 3 hours in, and the mathematics were starting to shift in ways that defied reason. The combined fleet had lost 800 ships. 800. The humans had lost 23. The Vrixian mind commander attempted a desperate gambit. If physical weapons could not touch the humans, perhaps mental assault would work. Every psionic operative in the Vrixian fleet linked together, creating a psychic scream that should have liquefied human brains across the entire star system. The humans felt it. We could tell because their communications chatter changed. Okay, that tickled, someone said. Did you guys hear something? Another voice asked. Yeah, kind of like a headache, but angrier. Huh. Weird. The Vrixian mind commander's last words, before his ship was blown apart by a human railgun, were, how? How are they immune? I could have answered that, having read the human medical files. Humans evolved on a death world. Their brains developed in an environment so hostile, so filled with things trying to kill them, that they built psychological defenses no other species possessed. Human children regularly experienced nightmares that would break a trained Vrixian warrior. Human teenagers dealt with social anxiety that would cripple our diplomats. Adult humans managed stress levels that would hospitalize my entire crew. They were not immune to mental attacks. They had just already survived worse. Every single day of their lives. 5 hours into the battle, and the Korthian High Commander finally understood what was happening. His flagship was surrounded by debris. Debris that used to be his fleet. He opened a channel to the Zephyron Supreme Admiral. "We need to retreat," he said. "No pride. No bluster. Just fear." "Agreed," the Admiral replied immediately. They tried. They really did. But the humans had spent 5 hours positioning themselves, maneuvering the Allied fleet exactly where they wanted them. When the retreat order came, the remaining ships found themselves in a killing box. Human forces on all sides. Planetary defenses above and below. Nowhere to run. Captain Hayes appeared on all channels again. "You came to our home. You threatened our families. You promised extinction. Human ships closed in, weapons hot. We tried to warn you. We tried to be reasonable. We tried to be diplomatic." The Korthian commander was begging now. "Please. We surrender. We surrender." Hayes was quiet for a long moment. Then she said something that I think will haunt me until the day I die. "Surrender accepted. All ships will power down weapons and prepare to be boarded. Any ship that resists will be destroyed. Any ship that attempts to flee will be destroyed. You came here to wipe us out. Instead, you are going to go home and explain to your empires exactly what happens when you threaten humanity." She paused. "If they are smart, they will listen." 6 hours and 14 minutes after it began, the battle was over. Of the 7,000 ships that came to destroy humanity, 412 remained. All of them captured. All of them now property of Earth. The humans had lost 106 ships total. I sat in my command chair, staring at the tactical display, trying to process what I had just witnessed. Admiral Thex was making a sound I had never heard before. I think it might have been whimpering. "Lissa," I said quietly. "Send a message to the Council. Priority Alpha." "What should it say, sir?" I thought about it. Thought about everything I had seen. The impossible maneuvers. The insane tactics. The casual dismissal of odds that should have guaranteed defeat. The humans who looked at certain death and laughed. Tell them that humanity is not to be engaged under any circumstances. Tell them that any empire, any species, any organization that threatens Earth will be on their own. The Council will not support them. Will not aid them. Will not even acknowledge them. Sir. And tell them that we are formally requesting diplomatic relations with humanity. Immediately. I pulled up the file on Colonel Reeves, the man who had warned the 3 empires. His image stared back at me, that same expression of serious amusement. I had thought he was bluffing. Posturing. Trying to scare enemies into backing down through bravado. I was wrong. He was not trying to scare them. He was trying to save them. 3 weeks later, I found myself on Earth. Actually standing on the surface of their world, breathing their air, experiencing their gravity that was frankly excessive and unnecessary. I was here to negotiate the peace treaty. Or rather, to accept whatever terms humanity dictated. Governor Patricia Mills met me personally. The woman who had turned an entire planet into a weapon. She was shorter than I expected. Humans usually were. "Advisor Vanthos," she said, extending her hand. A human greeting gesture. I had practiced it. "Welcome to Earth. Governor Mills. Thank you for agreeing to meet with me." She smiled. It looked genuine. "Of course. Come on, I will give you the tour." As we walked through the city, I could not help but notice how normal everything seemed. Humans going about their lives. Children playing. People laughing. You would never know that 3 weeks ago, these beings had defeated 3 galactic empires simultaneously. You are wondering how we did it, Mills said. It was not a question. I have reviewed the battle footage 217 times. I still do not understand. She stopped walking and turned to look at me. Can I tell you a secret, advisor? Please. We were terrified. The entire time. Every single person in that fleet was scared out of their minds. I stared at her. You were afraid? Of course we were afraid. We were outnumbered 17-1. Any rational person would be afraid. But you won. Yes. How? Mills looked up at the sky, where Earth's sun was beginning to set. Because fear is not the same as defeat. Because being outnumbered is not the same as being outmatched. Because we learned a long time ago that survival is not about being the strongest or the smartest or the most advanced. Then what is it about? She looked back at me, and her eyes held something I had never seen before. Not cruelty. Not arrogance. Just an absolute, unshakable certainty. Survival is about refusing to quit. It is about looking at impossible odds and saying, not today. It is about taking every single advantage, no matter how small, and turning it into victory. Humans have been doing that since we lived in caves and fought off predators with rocks. She started walking again, and I followed. Every species in the galaxy evolved to fit their environment. To adapt. To find their niche. Humans are different. We did not adapt to our environment. We adapted our environment to us. And when we ran out of planet to change, we looked up at the stars. We reached a memorial park. Names carved in stone. Thousands of them. Humans who had died in the battle. 106 ships, Mills said softly. 2,341 people. Every single one of them volunteered. Every single one of them knew they might not come home. And every single one of them went anyway. I looked at the names, and something clicked. You fight for each other. Yes. The empires fight for conquest. For resources. For glory. You fight for each other. Now you are getting it, Mills said. The treaty was signed the next day. It was remarkably simple. Humanity would release the captured ships and crews. The 3 empires would cease all hostile actions against Earth and its colonies. Trade routes would be established. Cultural exchange programs would begin. And, most importantly, humanity would be recognized as a sovereign power with full rights and protections under galactic law. It was the easiest negotiation of my career. Mostly because the alternative was trying to fight humans again, and literally nobody wanted that. As I prepared to leave Earth, Colonel Reeves found me at the spaceport. He looked tired but satisfied. Advisor Vanthos. Safe travels. Colonel Reeves. I wanted to thank you. For what? For trying to warn them. You could have simply destroyed the fleet. Instead, you gave them a chance. He shrugged. We are not monsters. We do not enjoy killing. We just happen to be very, very good at it when necessary. I have one last question, if I may. Shoot. The odds were impossible. The enemy was overwhelming. Yet you never doubted victory. How? Reeves smiled. Want to know the real secret? Humans have been beating impossible odds since before we had written language. We have fought ice ages, plagues, predators, and each other. We have survived extinction events that killed 90% of life on our planet. We have looked at every challenge the universe threw at us and said the same thing every time. Which is, watch this. I left Earth that day with a new understanding of humanity. They were not the strongest species. Not the smartest. Not the most advanced. But they were, without question, the most stubborn. And in a universe full of empires, advanced civilizations, and ancient powers, stubbornness might just be the ultimate superpower. Back aboard the Valerius, I filed my final report to the Council. It contained detailed tactical analyses, cultural observations, and strategic recommendations. But the summary was just 3 sentences. Do not fight humanity. Do not threaten humanity. Do befriend humanity, because you really, really want them on your side. The Council accepted the report unanimously. And just like that, the galaxy had a new power. Not through conquest. Not through intimidation. But through the simple, terrifying fact that when you pushed humanity, they did not break.